Thank you, ma'am, for joining us today at the GD Goenka podcast.
My pleasure.
It has been my greatest desire to have you on the podcast for
Oh.
a very long time.
Education was once known as information. It was about information. Today, education's transformation.
Everybody's still running the rat race of jobs and I hope my child clears this exam and this school is having these many marks and this is the cutoff. I was clear from day one, academics is not the only defining part of education for me, for my children.
If I talk about our school, GD Goenka, even the smallest thing turns out to be an opportunity for a child.
Absolutely.
And they want to make slogan for GD Goenka. So, that was an opportunity. They sat down, they wrote, and it turned out beautiful. It is important that you give them exposure, which should become a norm for them by the time they grow up and they move out from the school and they jump into a new life, I would say
True.
scenario.
True.
Then only they will be able to excel in life.
Today's conversation is very special because we are not just talking to an educator, we are talking to someone who shapes the environment where thousands of children spend most of their formative years. Hi, I'm Harman Sidhu, the Academic Director and Head of Communications at GD Goenka Mohali. Today at Goenka Alpha Edge, an educational podcast for parents, we have Mrs. Gurpreet Kaur Prakash. She is an accomplished educator and visionary school leader with over 25 years of experience across CBSE, IB and ICSE curriculum. Having served in prestigious national and international schools and currently leading GD Goenka Public School Mohali as its principal, she brings a rare blend of global perspective and deep understanding of Indian schooling realities. Her leadership is rooted in student-centric learning, emotional well-being, and future-ready education. Values where every parent today deeply care about. In this episode, we are diving into conversations every parent needs to hear but rarely gets to have with a principal, from anxiety in children to pressure of performance, screen time, emotional safety in schools to what truly defines a good school in today's time. Let's begin this very insightful conversation with Mrs. Gurpreet Prakash. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us today at the GD Goenka podcast.
My pleasure.
It has been my greatest desire to have you on the podcast for a very long time because the conversations that we've always had have been so deep and meaningful that I have always wanted that, every time we spoke, I wanted that, I wish this was recorded and I wish people would listen to this. So finally, I have you here.
Actually, and thank you so much for your kind words. And I look
Most
forward
welcome.
that we can discuss and ponder upon the same things which is spoken
Absolutely.
about, and
Absolutely.
we can get something meaningful, not only, for us, for society, for children, for parents.
Absolutely.
That's very important.
Right. So I'm going to just straight up ask the lineup of questions that we have for you today. How has the purpose of education evolved beyond textbook, marks, and examinations?
Well, education was once known as information. It was about information. Today, education's transformation. Facts are available at a click.
True.
Wisdom is not. So studies that they show that around 65% of students will be working in a job which do not yet exist.
True.
So education must equip, must build curiosity, thinking, adaptability, and character.
True.
That's very important. Only then our students, our future, I would say the future generation, people would be able to adapt to that drastic change. Today we are staying in a VUCA world. It's a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguity. So things are moving like, in just a flick of, I would say, second. How do we prepare students? So education is this, that we need to prepare them as per their, not about the content which they're learning, it's about the skills development, which I would say.
True.
That is
True.
education which you need to
Like
prepare
you
them.
said, very rightly, we have to prepare them for jobs in a future that we ourselves have no idea would be. We have no idea how jobs will look like a decade from now. We are preparing for them. Every time, like I said, every time I have a conversation with you, it is very meaningful and deep for me because I also take that in as a parent, And but when I meet other people and when I meet other parents, I don't see the same sort of mindset. Everybody's still running the rat race of jobs and I hope my child clears this exam and this school is having these many marks and this is the cutoff, and we're still running behind academics like crazy.
True.
That's not been my thing as a parent at all. I was clear from day one, academics is not the only defining part of education for me, for my children.
Right.
And that, I think that's the same vision that you have as well. And that's why I connected with you so much. What would you say to those parents who are still living like how we were in the 90s? For them, education is still like that.
So, as you just mentioned, as a parent, I would say kudos to you because you have understood this shift change. And a message which I would like to give to the parents that we need to make that shift change. Time has changed. There will be no more importance of rote learning.
True.
What will be more important? It's more about their adaptability, our students' adaptability, how well they can accustom to the change.
True.
It's about problem-solving skills because whatever, no matter what, you talk about AI, you talk about technology, that will give you power. But who decides to use it? It's
True.
us.
True.
So parents have to understand that we need to have this shift change. We have to be mindful when we are preparing for our children for future. We do not have to get along with that flock of sheep. Time has gone and we need to foresee things where even experts are not able to foresee things.
True.
But at least checking what's happening now and what will be available after 20, 30 years. We need to prepare our students according to it.
True.
So the
Absolutely.
message has to be same. Only then children will feel empowered, safe, and they will be happy learners.
Why is value-based education still essential in an increasingly digital and competitive world?
What a wonderful question. And as an educator, I can very well relate with it. So as I just said, technology gives power. But it's us, it's our brain, it's what, decides how to use.
True.
Values helps us to decide. So AI can give you result in a click. But what about decisions?
True. And like the minute you just said it, it just came to my mind. So I was just having a conversation with somebody and they said, you shouldn't be using ChatGPT at all because, aren't you using your brain? You're not using your brain anymore. And so I was like, of course, there will be there could be a big debate on it that
That's right.
to use or not to use. But I feel like we have made the AI, right? We have made an app to make the most use of it, right? Now, somebody who has less education will ask questions according to their level. What you get out of it, what you get out of the, say, ChatGPT, depends on the kind of questions that you're putting. That traces back to the kind of education you've had. So how we are using that technology will always be based on the kind of education that you've had and your creative thinking and your ability to think beyond books and beyond boundaries.
Right. So AI can outshine the speed.
True. Absolutely.
But it cannot take away at any cost empathy, integrity, creativity. It cannot. So how, as you rightly mentioned, it depends. You're asking the same question. Say you and me, we're asking the same question, ChatGPT. But trust me, there will be a juxtaposed answer the way we feed in the information.
True.
So when we talk about values very important. Even history has given a clear information. So whenever knowledge has been used without values, it has done harm to societies.
True.
So it's very important that we create balance between confidence and compassion.
True.
So if there's confidence and there's compassion, say, if there's confidence without, if I say values, it can create arrogance. And
Right.
if values without confidence, it can create hesitation. So it's important to have balance. Values drive the humanity,
True.
and nobody can replace it. Whether it's right now, after 30 years or 50 years, I wish this audio becomes relevant to that time also, because values will stay forever and nobody can replace it. And that's
Right.
what we are known for.
Absolutely. True. In today's changing world, what role should educators play beyond classroom teaching? What does future ready education truly mean for schools and students?
My journey from pencils to leadership has taught me that humans are the first connectors. So, an educator has to act not as just a teacher, as a mentor, as a coach, and as an emotional anchor,
Right.
where they help children to shape their future, to get adapted to the change, and at the same time, get away from self doubts.
Right.
So, educator has to have that emotional connection. I mean, if I say about cultures, different cultures, if I talk about different countries, one common thing which stays there is about that emotional touch.
True.
A teacher may forget whatever lesson she has taught, but trust me, a child will never forget how the teacher made them feel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember, if I was to look back at my schooling, I may not have loved the subject. I may not have loved, what we were studying as in curriculum, but I loved the teacher. And because of her, I ended up
Started
liking
loving this
the
subject.
subject. I fell in love with the subject because of who she was and how she made me feel, how seen I felt in front of her, that I loved the experience of being seen. So I would go home and I would study a lot because I loved how she looked at me and how she asked me those questions and how she was so happy to see me answer and win. So as a child, it just sort of reinforced that, and it shapes you as a person, and you go back and, you really want to show up for that teacher.
Agreed.
So-
And it's just not what, generally we talk about. Even research says this. Research, it says that if any child or any student has got one emotional support in school, one emotional support, adult support in school, they are 2 times more likely to succeed in their life. So that's a fact. And that's how the educator has to be. So, plus, educators should not only just guide, listen.
True. Absolutely.
Connect. So educate in today's time is more of a bridge.
True.
Just like, where the educator knows about what's happening back at home and what's happening in the school. So acts like a bridge. And trust me, as you mentioned, if this connection becomes strong, then you cannot stop the child from winning the world.
True. I remember we were having a conversation at the podcast itself, and the conversation was about that you just need, for a child, you just need one person. That person could be a parent, could be an educator, somebody from the school, not even necessarily somebody who's teaching, but even like, for example, say your PT sir. That one emotional connect with one person can change your life and save a child from so many things that they could go wrong, because you trust that person and you know that this person will listen to me, like you said. You know, as a child, this person will always listen to me. And that one perfect emotional bond with one person in the world can save you and change your life for sure.
Yes, they need that emotional support. So if they get that emotional support in school,
Nothing like that.
Nothing like that.
Right. How important is emotional well being in shaping a child's learning and overall growth? Though we've just spoken about it, emotional well being is everything, and how that emotional support is coming and from where it is coming makes a huge difference.
That's right. So whether in in an American schools or in an Indian schools, one thing which is, I would say, common and which is truth, students look forward for emotional support. They
True.
look for a child will learn the best if they feel safe and understood. So, emotional support, well being is something which is a part of a learning, which enables learning, I would say. So, when a child feels that this place is just not about, you know, giving information or just rattling out what has been done, but heard, supported, and at times in a class, I would say that when a child walks in, a teacher can figure it out. So the mood of a child. Hey, what happened? She's not well. What happened? So that particular one line connects with the child and understand. Oh wow, she knows what is going on. She knows that something happened at back end. So the child feels that connected. So well-being is something which has to be a part and parcel of learning.
True.
Only then the learning takes to another fly.
True. And I see that we've come a long, long way from how education was 2 decades back.
Yes.
A long, long way. You know, from where we started with a classroom which was full of 50, 60 students, and the teachers could barely remember the name of the children, to here we are today, even observing a child's behavior in classroom. The way they step in and the way they greet you, you know immediately, you know, that something is off. Maybe, this child needs a little more attention.
That's
So
right.
we've come a long way.
That's right. I mean, there was a time, as you rightly mentioned here, it was an onerous job for a teacher to remember everyone's name. And it was not important for a teacher to keep a note of anyone's mood, or even if a child was not smiling, a teacher was not concerned. She used to
True.
come and give her lectures, move out. But today, yes, even the way the child sits, the child gets stiffened, I would say. Food also reflects the mood. They get to
True.
know what's happening. So that's how we connect. That's how an educator connects, and that well being is shaped.
True.
And it's the need of the hour.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree. We are raising a whole different generation, and the way we approach and the way we reach out to children has to be different. We cannot possibly, still teach them like how we were taught 2 decades back. So, the school that I studied in 2 decades later also follows the same pattern,
How
which
sad.
which of course breaks my heart, because every school, no matter the board, I will come back to the discussion about the board as well. No matter the board, never does a board ever, tell me if I'm wrong, tells you that you have to teach like this. They just give you a curriculum, a framework. Every board is supposed to, whether it's IB, CBSE, ICSE, Cambridge, they will only give you a framework that this is what I want you to do with the children. How you teach
That is
the difference that the school makes, as an institution.
Right.
And that's what parents should actually be seeing in a school when you're looking for a school for your child. How are they teaching? What is the value of teaching?
Right.
So I met this parent and she was like so happy and so excited. She's telling me, I don't know what I've done to get my child to the school, and thank God she's got admission there. And I asked her which school. She said the school that I've studied from. So I was like, okay, wow, lovely. I said, so have they made any difference? How are they teaching? So I was just curious to know. So she told me exactly how I've been taught. And I was not amazed at the school. I was shocked at the parent, that in today's time, being a well-informed, well-educated parent, na chahte hue bhi, you are forced to see things, and it's unconsciously also training you as a parent that this is what you need to see or look for when you're looking for a school for your child. You are trained unconsciously also that times have changed and we need to see different things in school. So this person is very happy and I'm feeling very sad for the parent, for the child, and for the school.
Very true. And that's the irony.
That's the
You
irony.
know, when we
Absolutely.
talk about future, you asked me that question, that future ready school, what is education? So that's the irony. We talk about these things that what is coming down to 2030. Recently, I was invited by one of the leading newspapers as a speaker, and this was the topic. So, what do you think? What kind of curriculum will be there if we talk about 2030, 2040? So, if you talk about that and you have this scenario, do you think we'll be able to nurture our children? What is required? Or we are still working in the conventional setup because we're in comfort zone.
True.
So, because things have been set up, everything is easily available. We have done that. We made the resources, and we do not want to explore something new.
But the children are missing out.
Of course, and these children will actually be stumbling. They'll not be able to attain what they look for. And
True.
there comes when we talk about depression, there comes when the children are not able to get, adjusted in the changes. So
True.
this comes back.
We are already seeing a rising number of
Yes.
suicide cases in young children.
And that too for what? If the child has got 98%, the child has done a suicide. What is that? So this is what it is. And that's how it's leading.
True.
We need to make change right from here, from the school. Only then
Absolutely.
we'll be able to expect that further, the child will be able to settle. The child will be able to adopt. So World Economic Survey has already given that down the line after 2040, what are the things which is required if you want to go for a job? So they've spoken about skills. They've spoken about problem solving. They've spoken about communication. So that is also one of the skills which they look forward.
Absolutely. True.
So that's something which I also feel that no, that's not.
While I sit here and we're doing this podcast, let me tell you that my school never, ever was able to encourage me enough to stand up on this stage and even speak a single line.
Oh my God.
So I have had to relearn, reprogram, and train myself to be this person that I am today. But am I willing to do this for my children? No, absolutely not. Why should they be in a space which doesn't make them happy, which does not bring out the best in them? I think that's what I, as a parent also, this is like when I have to send my younger one to school. Of course, she's going to GD Goenka. So I know as a parent, and I'm not saying that it's because it's our school, but I know what we are providing the children. I know the value that my child will get from the education that the child gets over there in that school. So it's very important for me to make sure that the school brings out the best in my child and they see what is best in the child.
So that is important. That's right. So if I talk about our school, GD Goenka, even the smallest thing turns out to be an opportunity for a child.
Absolutely.
The other day they were making slogans and they want to make slogan for GD Goenka. So, I mean, that was an opportunity. They sat down, they wrote, and it turned out beautiful. Many children, which we didn't even think about it, that they can think on those lines, they were standing out. So,
True.
it is important that you give them exposure, which should become a norm for them by the time they grow up and they move out from the school and they jump into a new life, new, I would say,
True.
scenario.
True.
Then only they will be able to excel in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I said I'll come back to the CBSE, ICSE. So parents really obsess about boards these days. But what I've come to, the conclusion that I've come down to as a parent, after meeting you, Kavita ma'am, after seeing how the school functions, is that honestly, the boards are really just a framework. A sun is a sun and a moon is a moon. Now, how you're teaching the child is what makes a difference. And what would you say about that? What is this obsession about boards?
So I'll take the same thing. Then before this, we were talking about it's not what you teach, it's about how you teach.
True.
So one simple thing I can teach through hands-on, through project-based, or through learning by doing. And the other side, I teach the same thing through writing, make notes, read books. Do you think that will create an impact? Not at all. That is something which would act as a passive learning because child is not able to understand what they're learning. And the most important thing is why they're learning. So these boards, rightly mentioned by you, it is just a framework. Now you need to decide if you are, it depends. You want to send your child out of India, so which board would you like to take? You want a child to be here in India, which board you would like to? That's something which I would say parents' perspective. But trust me, no board says that this is the way it has to be taught and this is the way it has to be taken care. There's a framework. Pedagogies, that depends school to school. True. Strategies, that comes schools to school. So that is very important. What pedagogy are you taking it up? Am I only taking lecture based? Then it suits the
So
ways of
parents
this.
should be asking these questions,
Yes,
right?
these are the questions. we
Tell
need
me
to
3
ask.
questions the parents
This
should
is-
ask when they go check out a school.
So when the parent goes there, the first question the parent should ask is what pedagogy they are following. That's very important.
Right,
And as a parent, you will get the nutshell of the school the moment you get to know about it.
right,
Second thing, you have to talk about how well the school is connecting the learning with real life.
right.
So now that includes how many times a child is going out the classroom, or is the child just confined within the 4 walls. So timetable shows you that. You get to know.
Right. So you
That's
should
it.
ask the school for
Oh
the
yes.
timetable.
Oh yes, that's there. And third thing, yes. So I'm as an educator, what I feel the most important thing is that parent need not to ask any question. Just sit and watch students.
So I'm going to ask you something that I have also personally always thought about this, and I haven't come down to a conclusion. How much do you think should be a commute time for the child going to the school? So I live in one corner, and I see children going 1 hour, 1.5 hours, small children, just because their parents think that fancy school there will make my child's future. And the child is literally commuting 1.5 hour in the morning, 1.5 hour in the evening. It's never sit down well with me at all.
Oh my God, you asked something which I can go on and on. What is important? That's a question. What are you looking for? Are you trying to justify or satisfy what you want as a parent? Or are you looking something which you want for your child? That's the first question. Maybe you thought and you desired, or maybe your friend circle wanted, or maybe your friends' children are there in that school, which is 2 hours away, and you want to send your child. What are we doing? What is important is that you need to pick up a school which is nearby, which is in your
True.
vicinity.
True.
And when did we get to know that, if you're picking up a school and you made your opinion that this school is not good? I'm so sorry. This is a statement which I will never able to justify it, because no school is, about good or bad. It's
True.
about, as you guys, wanted me to tell, the questions to be asked. It's about how they take it up. What best exposure has been given?
True.
Is there a provision of learning styles? Because every child does not learn in the same way.
True.
So these are the questions which you need to connect. And trust me, it's sending child, and making a child to travel for 2 hours and sending a child to a school which is 2 hours, away, will not give you anything which probably you as a parent you're thinking. I am so sorry for that. I mean, I do not agree to it. Nowadays there are n number of good schools.
Absolutely. I agree. And this is something that as a parent also I've always, me and my husband have always discussed that, whenever our children go to school, 10 minutes max, 15 minutes, 20 minutes by the bus is cap time for us. Nothing over that. My child will not sit for
So
that
that's
long.
something bingo as a parents, I would say. Fantastic, because that is what is required.
True.
You want, what is important? You want happiness question, or you just want to take it? No, I want to send my child to that school and this is what has to happen. No, it won't. When your child, gets time to spend not only in the school, at home also, that will balance.
True.
And whatever you're looking for as a parent, the outcome, that will automatically follow. You need to pick up a school which is in your vicinity.
Right.
You need to cut down the traveling time so that you can give
Opportunities.
quality time.
Exactly.
Yes.
And also opportunities,
Yes.
Okay. What does meaningful collaborations between parents and schools look like? The first meaningful collaboration would be to choose a school which is just nearby.
That's right.
And tell me about it.
So meaningful collaboration between parent and school is definitely partnership, not pressure.
True.
When schools and homes send the same message of, about, I would say, respect, efforts, then the child feels safe. So
Right.
it's very important when the parents are involved in the growth of children. And it's not me who's saying it. This is research says if a child is involved along with the child, the parent is involved along with the child in his or her academic journey,
True.
they're likely to have 45% of improvement and achievement in their life.
Right.
So this partnership has to go together, because when the mission is same, how can this partnership not work? So schools and homes need to work together, not
Right.
separately. So this partnership should be strong and well in sync.
True.
That's another thing which
Absolutely,
is
I agree
important.
with you. How does experiential and hands-on learning prepare students for real-life challenges? This is something that I personally have really felt like we missed out when we were studying, but a part of it I got to experience when I was studying to teach, to be an educator. So, and this is something that I absolutely fell in love with when I was studying myself also, because nothing like hands-on practice. Once you've done something with your hands, you can never unlearn it.
Yes, that's right. Life does not ask you theoretical questions. It
Never.
asks for decisions.
True.
So experiential learning enables the child to apply knowledge,
True.
work in groups, and give solution to problems.
True.
So it helps the child to have problem solving skills. At the same time, creativity. So if you are working with a child with a project based learning or hands on activities, that helps the child to retain things 75% more than passive learning.
True. So I remember just a few days back, my daughter had a project from school, and so she didn't do it for 2-3 days, and she comes to me at night, and 9 o'clock she tells me, "Mama, please help me do this." I say, first of all, why do you think have they given you this project? Have they given you this project for your mother to do it? Why have they given you? So she kept thinking, she said, so that I could do something about it. I said, of course you're going to do something about it, but what is the purpose? Why do you think your teachers told you to make this? So she was like, so that I do some research. I say, yeah, there you go. So that you do your research and you find things, not your teacher teaching you these things in class. You do your own research and you come down to your own conclusion. And then you build your project with your own vision, not mama's vision. So let's get up in the morning and let's do it again. You do your research in the morning, whatever best we can, do, we will try it in the morning. But I'm not doing this for you. I remember when we were small, we would just run to my mom and like, Mama, just do this. We didn't, as parents also, our parents also at that time didn't understand that these projects, there's a reason why they have been given, so that your child gets into the habit of doing their own research and coming down to certain conclusions of their own and having a different perspective.
Right. And I remember I saw your post, which you had put on your Insta. So that's right. So when the child will be involved and be doing it, we'll never forget. So being an IB educator, I've worked to IB schools also. And I would give credit to IB when I picked it up. And the same thing is now implied in our school. It's inquiry-based learning. Let them be inquirer. Let them ask questions.
Absolutely.
Let them come with whatever they come up with. So in our school in GTCO in Kamholi, what we do is we do flip classrooms.
Wow.
That sports the same thinking. So children go back, they're super excited that, oh wow, I have to take up this thing. But they don't understand there is something which we are building in them. So they have to research on that topic. So we do research on any topic you can think. They researched on shoes, they researched on chocolates, that's how they build up their understanding. When they research, they gather information. In this today's time, when you talk about data world, it's very important to filter the data.
True.
So this, when you connect with experiential learning, this gives a way to it. They are hands on, they get into it, they visit, they do their own reflections, they come back, they evaluate, then again they rework on it, and the nutshell is that come out with an outcome which is something which they have to produce. So this experiential learning helps to build the skills. It's more on skills, it's more on learning by doing, it's more on retaining that information lifelong.
True. Something that parents usually discuss also, and I'm also personally very curious to know, what is your take on co-ed schools? We have a co-ed school. We have boys and girls studying at the same time. It's a never-ending debate that
I know.
girls need different things and boys need different things. You need to prepare this one. But when you get out of the school, you're in a world where you're living, coexisting with all genders.
That's right. And we are not staying in a silo world. And I'm really, sorry on this point, I do not support it. When did you teach the child to accustom to the things which is probably is not his or her field? How will a child learn to adapt? How will a child learn to fight back? How will a child learn that what is coming up? Maybe as a girl, I'm thinking this. Maybe the other person is not thinking that way. And when it comes up, the child takes it up and, adjust to it, or maybe work in groups, or maybe fight back. When did we do that? And how can we justify this? I don't have any answer for it. I've never studied in schools, which is, where I was always in a part of a co-ed school. And that's how we have learned that, okay, so if I'm doing this, maybe the other person is thinking on these lines. And probably I would say that's the reason we are doing good in our life.
True, I know.
We do not have to sit and apprehend that side that, oh, what is the other person thinking? The other person is male. And when we talk about equality, how come this will not be part of it, equality? I mean, children are staying together, they're studying together, and education has to go hand in hand. There's nothing about this. So I am not in favor. Not at all. I'm so sorry, but I am not in favor of this, because I am preparing my child for a future where anything can come anytime. So
Right.
things are changing, and we
Right.
talk about gender equality, and this supports it.
We almost are there. What does education with purpose mean in context of the next generation?
Education with purpose means where a child knows why they are learning,
True. Very true.
not just what. So
Right.
if I talk about across cultures, across classrooms, across country, one common denominator which stays is that, when you have a purpose and you know the reason, the result is commendable. Purpose-driven student will not blindly run behind success. They will create meaning.
True.
So this reminds me Abdul Kalam ji's words, where he always emphasized that education is to ignite minds, not fill. So that is purpose-driven education, where you ignite, where you make them curious, and there's a purpose behind it, not just like aimless thing or following a flock or the sheep or just going. So our whole conversation gets connected. We again and
Absolutely.
again going back to the same thing which we're talking about. Parents are
True.
still having that rat race.
True.
Because education.
One of my
purpose.
favorite, one of the most favorite person for me was APJ Abdul Kalam. The only reason I got into education and agreed to study higher.
Yes.
Finest.
Finest, and he meant what he said.
True.
And displayed also.
What responsibilities do educational institutions carry in shaping confident and responsible citizens?
Education institutions shape societies. Beyond academics, they need to teach responsibilities, respect, and civic sense.
Currently, civic sense is a thing on Instagram.
So that's something which need to teach, because it's just not about studying academics, it's about these things. A man is not always judged with what mark sheet.
True.
Like you and me were sitting, we don't know each other's marks.
True.
We don't have our marks in front of us, but how we conduct, how we
True.
talk to each other, that is
Absolutely.
very important. And that is the role of education institution apart from academics.
Right.
We need to shape this because that will help them to adopt to digital literacy, moral judgment, that ethics. This will come through this only.
Right.
So, and that is what is important.
This is going to be again very controversial. Is tuition culture making children lazy?
Why? Why? I mean, I fail to understand why are we sending our children for tuitions? Why? What
We
is
have
the
been
reasons?
programmed, probably.
So that's now, this is what we have to get back when we are talking about, when you say schools. There's another question which I would like to add. Our parents should ask this question as well. How do you cater to different learning styles? It's very important. A classroom cannot be catered to one way, chalk and cheese method. No, that will not serve. Every classroom has different learners. They have different learners, they have different pace, and of course, their future is also different. So, how do we cater to them? A good school will always make provision to ensure that we cater to all learners.
True. I'm glad this is even a conversation today.
Oh yes, that's very important. And how do we make sure that everyone comes on the same platform? So you have to tweak. An educator has to tweak that lesson or whatever concept she's teaching.
True.
Right. It's a very simple thing. If I about layman, it's okay. 2 plus 3 is 5. Right? 4 plus 1 is also 5. 5 plus 1 is plus 0 is also 5. So that is known as tweaking. Why do we need tuitions? I fail to understand. When you're talking about experiential learning, we are talking about inquiry-based learning. When a child is studying such school, I don't think tuition should be even
Every time I go to the school, I usually always say this. This is probably the new age parent. I hope everybody is doing the same. I always tell the school when you're taking tests or assignments or exams, you are not judging us as parents. You're not judging what we are doing with the children. My child is with you. You are teaching the children. The teacher is doing her best. You are testing yourself.
Oh my God. How true. And this is what we talk in GD Goenka. So when we talk, when we have meetings, so it's like, what we say? This is our report card.
Yes.
How can I pass it on to you? A child was with me since morning till, till the afternoon, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I'm responsible for it.
True.
And I'm the one who's supposed to ensure that my child understands. So even in our school, our culture says that if we give homework to our children, which is, which
I was just going to ask you something about
my
it.
God. So we have decided days on which they will get homework. So it cannot be every day. And children are being informed that once you go back, you're not supposed to, just fill that thing or complete that homework if you've not understood. So they come back.
I was just going to ask you, should homework be banned? Again, a lot of debate about it, whether you should give homework, not give homework. As a parent, I personally feel the typical homework that was given back in the time versus the kind of homework that I would like to see and not call it homework is rather a project, something more meaningful, something which involves research, something that involves them doing something hands-on, maybe just involving their parents and spending some quality time doing some research together. So that's something that I would be more interested to see as a parent, coming back home. And as far as repetition is concerned, maybe they need to revise what they've done in school. I think that's something that comes much later.
That's right. Now that depends, the child is studying which class, So
Right.
if I talk about pre-primary, of course, no. If I talk about primary, yes, there can be homework, but not that much, maybe on weekends. There's
Right.
something, as you said, it's about retention, It's
Right.
about retaining that information, but not the replica of what has been taught in the class.
True.
I made you write something about a creative writing and I tell you to do the same thing in the homework. That does not serve the purpose. Maybe something related to it. Maybe, as you said, we ask children to explore, find out in the surrounding, maybe in a form
True.
of questionnaire. They form a questionnaire and they find the answer, they research, and they connect with their grandparents or they
True.
call up their relatives. So for them, it's fun.
Fun.
And
True.
also they look forward, and when children been given that leadership qualities, they look forward to just show
True.
up. That is what resonates with the homework very well in GD Goenka Mohali. That's what is taken care. But when you talk about higher grades, they definitely need muscle memory. I do recommend that. Everything has a limit, so that limit has to be taken care. That they
True.
should not spend the whole evening in just doing their homework.
Right.
Days should be mentioned. Even a parent is well informed, a child is well informed, and if a child is not able to do, let the child come back and understand the concept.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is the last question. How do schools? My intention is never to speak about the school at all, but of course we are in a space and we are doing so well, and I love what we're doing. I love what you are doing in the school, so it naturally comes. So this is one direct question. How do schools like GD Goenka, Mohali integrate holistic development with academic excellence to prepare students for life? What are we doing different?
Yes, that's we. It's definitely we. So at GD Goenka, we get best of the global practices along with value education. So academic rigor is complemented with sports, arts, leadership, values. The purpose, the goal of our school is very simple: to prepare our children not just to succeed in exams, but to succeed as humans. So that is what the gist is.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much, ma'am. Firstly, for that answer. Secondly, for being there in this school. Having you is such a honor for us. And the children are so lucky to have you as their principal and head. I'm sure they'll be inspired for life. Thank you so much for joining us at the podcast today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Harman, for your kind words. And trust me, it is always we which works. It's not us. So it's a compliment to you, the entire management, to our director, because it's very important. There's alignment.
True.
When there's an alignment and you work together, mission gets accomplished for sure.
And we're definitely doing the best for our children.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
What stands out from today's conversation is that education is no longer just about marks, subjects, and report cards. It's about emotional, safe spaces, confident children, and schools that understand the child beyond the classroom. A big thank you to Mrs. Gurpreet Kaur Prakash for sharing such honest, practical, and eye-opening insights that will help so many parents see schooling through a more mindful lens. If you're a parent, I hope this episode gave you clarity, reassurance, and maybe even a few questions to ask your child's school. Because raising confident children is a partnership between home and school. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.